Hello. It is me, Nadia, and we are here at podcast number 27, which is one of my favorites. Do I always say that? It seems like I do. I think all 52 are probably my favorite. But this one really is in large part one of my favorites, and it is The World Needs You. Now, this is interesting because what this refers to is that instead of us just seeing that maybe we have a job or that we have a responsibility or that we have a career, it's the idea that we have something much greater than that. And that is that we have a calling. And someone once described this really well. They said, you can be fired from a job, but you cannot be fired from a calling. And I love that. So what does that mean? So that means that, yeah, maybe you have a job as a teacher, but if you were to retire or if you were to change jobs or if you were to get fired, you would still find that you are still teaching people. And this has been true for me. I was a college professor for 18 years, and I have found that I spend a tremendous amount of my time teaching, showing, guiding, mentoring, helping people do certain things. And it has gotten to the point where solving problems and helping people learn how to do things has really just become a way of life for me. So if you take a look at the news, or you're someone who watches the news a lot or reads the news, I at least read the headlines every day, so I have a bigger worldview. If you're someone who does this, I think one of the things that you will realize is that humans are kind of making a mess. And one of the things you'll see is that people are getting hurt or injured. You'll also see things like what's going wrong with companies or corporations or society or this or that or the other. And then the other thing you'll find is that there are a lot of people who have illnesses. You'll see that diseases like cancer are still very, very large and in charge. You'll see things like struggling parents who are dealing with things like we do, having a child on the autism spectrum. So you'll find that there's lots and lots of things going on in the world that aren't necessarily going right quite yet. Now, let's take a moment and be positive here and say that there are many things in the world that are better than they were. There are many things in the world that are making progress. There's many things that are hopefully better than they used to be. But there's still a lot of work to be done. For example, issues around race and gender and things like that, issues around discrimination. We're still finding that even though we would think that everybody must know this by now, everybody must know consent. Does everyone not understand what consent means when it comes to sexual relations? And yet, day after day after day, there are more and more cases. There are just as many cases of domestic violence. And we know that we know this stuff. We know that people know drinking and driving is bad. Drinking and driving kills people. And yet people are still killed by drinking and driving. So in light of that, there's so much in the world that needs love and support. And there's something called the butterfly effect. And the butterfly effect says that when a butterfly flaps its wings, it impacts so many other people for so many miles in so many places, way beyond what you would think. And the same is true for you. So maybe you stop and you let someone out in traffic, or maybe you say a kind word to someone, or maybe you call someone back, or maybe you notice someone seems not to be doing well and you reach out to them, or maybe you plant a garden, or maybe you make a donation to a cause. But every little teeny tiny thing you do is actually having a butterfly effect and impacting people around the world. And if you're fortunate to actually do something where you're intentionally trying to make a difference, then this is a major thing. I have a wonderful friend I grew up with and I went to school with, and he is at the moment trying to eradicate leprosy from the world. And he has a plan and a vision to see leprosy completely eradicated from the face of the world in the next 15 years. So when he asked me if I could help him with something, I said, wait a moment, you're trying to eradicate this biblical disease, this disease that's been around for so long and that still affects very, very poor people around the world and devastates them. Yes, I do want to help you. Now, maybe your mission is not quite as large as eradicating a world disease, but just little teeny tiny ways, you can find a way every single day to make the world better for somebody. So one of the things I want you to think about is not just what is my job, what is my career, what do I like to do, what pays me. I want you to think about what your calling is. What is the thing that you have been called to do? What is the thing that you uniquely can do in the world that not everyone else can do? And it could be anything. It may be that you're a wonderful cook or chef. It may be that you are a great teacher. It may be that you are a great friend. You're a great parent. You're a great child. You're a great sibling. But anything that you do well shows importance. But we also know for a fact that historically speaking, if we look at the history of the world, not taking care of things, not doing things, that really truly can make huge problems later. So we see when things have gone really wrong in the world, it's when other people turn their eye, and it's when other people say, well, I'm sure someone else has done this. I'm sure someone else has taken care of this. And we assume things. We assume that someone somewhere else, someone more important than us, is taking care of things. And maybe they're not. So what I want to say to you now is I want you to find a way to ask yourself, what is there in the world that calls me into action? And I have to tell you that there have been moments in my life where I've been going along doing something, or I've been behaving a certain way, and then I have felt something within my own energy shift, and I have felt called to do something. Now, this is a weird experience, and I'm not even going to try and explain it to you, but I have felt something shift, and I have felt this is what you're going to have to do. There was a time with my son where he was really struggling in school and we were having a terrible time. And I decided to organize some people to come together, and some parents and we went before the school board, and we spoke to the school board, and we expressed our concern for our children on the spectrum. And I really felt sick doing it. I felt horribly sick doing it. And I didn't enjoy it. But I did it, and the other parents did it. And in large part, the other parents did it because I was doing it. I don't think if I had done it, they would have done it. But because I was doing it, they were willing to go because they trusted me. And we all did. And we went and we talked and we spoke. And I've got to tell you, it was very disappointing because it really didn't seem to really make a difference to the people who heard us. But one of the things that I realized later on is that it made a difference to those other parents. And it made a difference to me. And it made a difference because I realized I was exhausting every option that I had, and that I was going to have to radically do something different. And I was going to have to radically change something, because the things that I had tried that were textbook things that a parent should do for a special needs child, that shit wasn't working. And I was really at the end of my rope, and I literally had to tie a knot in the end of my rope so I didn't slide off it. But I was taking a stand, speaking up, doing the things that I thought people should do, and I wasn't really getting anywhere. So I just want to say to you that there's no cookie cutter approach. There's no formula for how to make a difference in the world. But I will say this, the one thing that I have found that is my secret weapon, if I were a superhero, is kindness. I go out of my way to find ways to be kind, whether it's someone in my family or someone around me, or whether it's a complete stranger I've never met before. Whenever I see an opportunity to be kind, I take it. Now, we don't want to get muddly in our head and think that being kind means being weak, because it doesn't, because a lot of times it takes huge amounts of strength to be kind. But whenever you see an opportunity to be kind and you take it, you make a difference. One, you make a difference to yourself. And two, you make a difference to many, 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 many people in the world. So if there's something that you have a skill to do, I ask you to do more of it. If there's a way that you can be generous and kind, I ask you to do more of it. This world, as much as I don't like to be negative, is in need of severe love and affection. There are so many things going on in the world at the moment that are just not okay. They're not good. They're not all right. And we personally have to take responsibility for doing the part of it that we can do, whatever that is. And part of that responsibility is taking care of ourselves, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. So making sure that whenever we can do something, like even this podcast, that we take the time to say, yes, I'm going to work at this. I am going to try to make a difference, to inspire, to uplift people, to invite people to make a difference with me. So your making a difference is going to change the world, because you will be a role model. We've seen that social media post before. It is more important that you lead by your example than by your opinion. Your opinion really does not do anything, but your example, that absolutely, completely, and totally speaks in huge volumes. So this has been Free My Mojo podcast number 27. The world needs you, and I need you, and I want you to join up with us. I want you to connect with us, and I want you to be someone who makes the world a better place. I want you to be an encourager. I want you to be a change agent. I want you to be a way shower. I want you to be someone who lights a candle instead of cursing the darkness. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon here on the podcast. Thank you so much.